What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, well, we've actually got an answer to one of the biggest questions we had in Digimon, and that is, what does delay mean? Because the great news is that they did a bit of a live stream today, did the Digimon folks, and during that live stream, they showed us a new card, which is nice, but it's a new card that uses the keyword delay, which is really nice. And essentially, we were kind of right in our prediction, but not really. Let me have a look. So the card is called Red Memory Boost. Love the artwork on it, incidentally. Our translation comes from the lovely folks over at Ensan Gaming, as I'm sure you may have guessed by now. It is a free cost option card, which is not terrible. And it lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, add a red Digimon you find there to your hand, and then put the rest of the cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. So far, so standard. Free cost option card lets you search a red Digimon, doesn't let you play it, so arguably a little bit expensive, because it's a free cost and I'm finding a Digimon, but then I've got to play it. But then again, having said that, it gets me the Digimon I want a little bit faster than I otherwise would, so I'm probably not terribly upset. I don't think it's a phenomenal card, but it's fine. It's all right. However, there's more. Because when you do that, you play this card onto the battle area. So it's an option card, and you take that option card and you place it in the battle area, which obviously is very new, but that's where the whole delay thing comes in. Because you see, it's got a second main skill that reads, send this card to the trash from the battle area, gain 2 memory. This effect cannot be activated on the turn that you played the card. So essentially it is an option card that you play down, and it stays there, and at some point, whenever you like, you get to just gain 2 memory, which seems quite nice, and I love this. Absolutely love it. Essentially, it starts off as an alright but not particularly amazing card, but then it has a second effect to use later, and I love this, because think about the mind games this is going to do to your opponent. Now obviously the best time to play this is when you've got 2 memory remaining. You play this, the turn goes to your opponent with 1 memory, but then, you know, when you're playing Digimon, you're constantly, at least I am, I assume you guys are as well, you're constantly sitting there going, well, they've got this much memory, this is what their deck looks like, these are my predictions, here's what they're going to do, here's how it's going to look, etc. And they are going to look to try and make sure that you have as little memory as possible to have a play with. Well, here you get to just go a little bit silly. Your opponent goes, right, they've got 5 memory, they cannot Digivolve into an Omnimon without passing the turn to me, because Digivolving into Omnimon is going to cost 6 memory, they've got 5, so it'll come to me with 1 memory, but no! Because now they activate the delay, or you activate the delay, you go from 5 memory up to 7 memory, and now when you Digivolve into that Omnimon, you've actually got 1 memory left, rather than having passed a turn to your opponent. This is exactly what I wanted with delay. I wanted the kind of card which is going to add more strategy and more mind games, and is going to make both players think a little bit harder and allow really good players to set up situations that they wouldn't be able to set up without a delay card. And would you believe it, ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what we've got here, which is wonderful. Now, I should mention that as a security card, it gets placed into the battle area. So essentially, it will, when you like, give you 2 memory, which is actually really cool. It basically turns it into Hammer Spark, but a Hammer Spark that you get to activate on one of your later turns when you feel like it, which I love. I mean, you could argue that as a main card here, if you're just playing it normally, you could argue it's a little bit too expensive. But as a security card, it's flat out phenomenal. And to be fair, when all is said and done, when it all works out, you end up in a situation where you've only actually paid 1 memory to search the top 4 cards of your deck, and that's good. But there is a strong argument here that if played correctly, it is better to pay 3 memory and get 2 back later than it is to just pay 1 memory. Now, obviously, if you want to play this and another card and you've got 2 memory left, you would obviously rather just pay 1 memory. But I'm talking about setting up situations where your opponent can't hurt you. So we've seen a lot of Tamer cards. I'm going to use Mimi as an example because I love me some Mimi. And loads of them have a skill whereby if you have 2 or less memory at the start of your turn, you set it to 3. So your opponent essentially tries to put you on 1 memory. Mimi puts it up to 3. To be honest with you, Mimi's probably a terrible example because I'm talking about a red option card. So maybe we should mention Tai here. Like I said, loads of them have the same skill. So Tai puts you up to 3. Then you activate this. And all of a sudden, right, your opponent has tried to put you up to 1 memory. And you've gone all the way from 1 to 5? Yeah. That's going to make a difference, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely going to make a difference. That is so much better. And that's kind of my point here. This is the kind of card that can screw with your opponent. And the thing is, there's nothing they can do about it. Now, maybe at some point in the future, we will see a card that lets you essentially trash option cards from play. So for a long time, Tamers were safe. For a long time, there was basically nothing that you could do to get rid of Tamer cards. Once a Tamer hit the field, the Tamer was there and there was basically nothing you could do about it. And then in came Omnimon's Warp Defeat. And when you Digivolve into it, you delete one of your opponent's Tamers. And now we actually do have cards that will allow you to remove Tamers from the field. We've also seen the card All Delete. Now, All Delete is a really interesting one here. And I love All Delete. I love how ridiculous it is. It makes me super happy. But you return one of your Digimon with Omnimon in its name to its owner's hands, and you delete all Digimon and Tamers in play. Now, when the card designers made this, they could have made it read, delete all cards in play, but they didn't. They made it read all Digimon and Tamers. And let's be perfectly clear, right? By the time we see set 5, set 6 is done. I don't know how many of you have been following card design and TCGs and all of that, but the folks at the Transformers TCG were really cool about telling us a bit about the design process and all of that. And I've got mates who work for these companies, etc., and I've chatted to them about it. They are always at least 2 or 3 sets ahead. So by the time we have seen set 5, where All Delete is printed, the card designers have designed set 6 and probably 7. They know what's coming. So when they do this, they're kind of deliberately letting us keep option cards. And this opens up some really interesting situations with All Delete, because now I can basically have a bunch of option cards in play from various turns, and then when I play All Delete, I can start going a little bit nuts with my option cards. So all of a sudden, that I'm wiping both players' boards isn't like it was before, because I get to have my option cards back, and that makes a humongous difference. And here's the great thing about seeing this card with delay today. We are scratching the surface. We have not even started. There are going to be so many more of these. In the previous video, I drew a parallel between this and the secret actions that we saw in the Transformers trading card game that didn't actually exist until we hit Wave 3. And then all of a sudden, secret actions are a thing now. These are action cards that essentially you play on your turn that activate on your opponent. And it's not the same. These you essentially play, and for want of a better phrase, you are saving them for later? If that doesn't sound too weird. And I love it. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, you know what, this is actually a pretty good card. I'm getting it 4 Wassies. I think it's really cool. But I'm also looking at this and going, you know what? We can do better than this in the future. This is like the opening gambit. If you go back to Transformers and look what they did with Secret Actions, they evolved over time, and there were cards that did more damage based on if there was a secret action in play, and there was all kinds of interactions with it. And what we've essentially got here is a new category of cards. And over time, the card designers are going to play with them and build on them, and there are going to be cards that interact with them, cards that do more damage depending on how many of them are in the field, etc. And I love that, ladies and gentlemen. Consider me very excited indeed. But I want to know what you think now. Now that we know what it is, I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.